What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Errol, the Truth Spence, Derrick James. Get this. Derrick James is suing Errol Spence, okay? Errol Spence filed his own lawsuit, though, against longtime trainer Derrick James hours before James' claim landed in Dallas County Civil Court. In Spence's filing, the former unified welterweight champion declares he does not owe James any unpaid compensation. That contradicts James' claim that Spence owes him no less than $5 million for the trainer's verbally agreed 10% cut of Spence's guaranteed purse money for a string of pay-per-view bouts, closing with Spence's 9th round TKO loss to Terrence Crawford. While James claimed his lawsuit that he was owed 10% of both the money promised Spence in his bout agreements and his pay-per-view precedes, Spence argues in his April 18th lawsuit that the fighter only owed James 10% share of his promoter contested contract. Okay. And Spence lawsuit claims that the Texas fighter, who was trained by James in an amateur before reaching the 2012 Summer Olympics in London, that Spence would pay James a bonus for some, but not all, of the fights to emphasize the value that Spence placed on their relationship. The Spence and James oral agreement does not provide that James would be paid 10% of Spence's total fight revenue, such that Spence is not required to pay James 10% of the revenue tied to the fight, generated from pay-per-view or otherwise. Spence's attorney, Jonathan R. Childers, wrote in his claim. He said Spence affirms that there was an oral agreement in place created with when he turned pro in 2012 and paid James $250 for his first 2,500 purses. Spence claims that he consistently paid James 10% of his promoter contested contract earnings since. Okay, let me counterpunch. This is bad, okay? This is bad because, I mean, now they're suing each other, okay? You know, I heard earlier today that James was suing Errol Spence. And here's my thing. First of all, the verbal agreement, look, everything, if anybody knows anything about business, it has to be in writing. Verbally, you could tell someone anything, but that doesn't mean that is worthy or holds up in court just because you say, yeah, man, I'll pay you that and this, and you know what I mean? Unless it was recorded, you know, or documented on camera or something like that, then you have some evidence. If you don't have evidence and you just said, oh man, he verbally agreed, he could always say, no, I didn't verbally agree to anything. How you going to prove it? He might have said that. You know what I mean? Errol Spence was, you don't know how long Errol Spence was hitting that bottle. Errol Spence was probably hitting that bottle a long time and, and probably forgot. However, I'll say this. In defense of Errol Spence, okay, listen. If he owed him money for the contested agreement and pay-per-view, why is he just now taking Errol to court? Don't that sound strange to you? Like, okay, you wait till he gets his ass whooped by Terrence Crawford, then you want to talk about all these unpaid debts that he owes. I think that's kind of strange. You know what I mean? Unless something was behind the scenes that they've been talking for a while, that could be the case. So I'm not ruling that out. I just think it's strange if that was the case. These guys been together that long. That's 12 years. That's 12 years, man. 2012 to 2022. You know what I mean? And so you wait 13 years to start complaining about pay-per-view. Why didn't you say anything before? Me personally, I think Derrick James is going to lose that. I think he's going to lose because if it's nothing in writing, you can talk about verbal stuff all day long based on their relationship. I do think it's bad because That's exactly the same issue with Abel Sanchez and Gennady Golovkin. And I didn't like how that went at all, man. You was with somebody, Abel Sanchez, you know, promoted Golovkin. He pretty much advised Golovkin. He was like a father figure with Golovkin. And then Golovkin had made this big deal. He had this huge deal with the Zone, you know, had this huge deal with the Zone. And it's like, all of a sudden, the money wasn't right. And, you know, they couldn't come together. And Gennady Golovkin just grabbed his stuff and left his gym. You know, and I was like, I don't like that, man, because, you know, Abel did so much for Gennady. You know what I mean? He pretty much adopted him into this Mexican style, if you guys can remember, and all that stuff. And, you know, and he pretty much, you know, helped Gennady throughout his career. And I don't think Gennady Golovkin was the same. And I think that was pretty much, you know, the beginning of the end for Gennady Golovkin, on top of being, you know, getting older. Because, I mean, he's 40, 41 years old right now. So, you know what I'm saying? I think, or 40. I think he just turned 40, April 8th, this month. 1984, or was it 83? Anyway, you know what I mean? He's done with the sport of boxing. But I hate when these trainers and fighters, you know, fall out over money. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, man, you know, there's enough money to go around. Why we got to argue about that? But, you know, that's just my opinion, guys. You guys tell me what you think about Derrick James, Errol Spence suing each other. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.